call the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, January 22nd, 2019 at 6 p.m. And let's rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for this wonderful day, my Father, that you've given us. Thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. At times, we don't recognize the blessings, but they come in so many unexpected packages. I pray, Lord, that you continue to guide us to make the right decisions for the city of Aransas Pass. I ask for your blessings upon our town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we're going to go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're going to go to public hearing. Public hearing on whether the Aransas Pass Crime Control and Prevention District should be continued for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, and the Crime Control and Prevention District sales tax should be continued for 5, 10, or 20 years.
And Mayor and Council, this is a public hearing, but just as a reminder, this has been discussed at earlier times, and need to decide to move forward with this, assuming you do. And also the year issue, you need to decide on the year issue tonight in the action item to follow. But right now, this is simply the public hearing on this item.
Any comments from the citizens? Okay. Now we consider the public hearing on proposed tax amendment for the City of Aransas Pass Ordinance Part 1, Section 300, Subsection 10-216, 252.
We still have to act on item 6.2.
Yeah, consider an act. Close the hearing.
Close the
Yeah,
hearing first.
let's close it.
Public hearing.
I want to close the public hearing. I'm messing up.
It's fine.
Can I have a motion and a second? A motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in
Thank-
favor?
Aye.
Mayor,
Now-
we'll go to 6.2.
Yes. Now let's consider an act on approving resolution number 2019-876 to continue the Aransas Pass Crime Control and Prevention District 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, and the Crime Control and Prevention District sales tax for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years.
I know we talked about 10 years being the sweet spot. Is that good?
That's the discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that would be probably most appropriate. Council.
All righty. Well, in that case, I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2019-876 to continue the Aransas Pass Crime Control and Prevention District for 10 years and the Crime Control and Prevention District sales tax for 10 years.
I'll second.
And the half-cent sales tax for the 10 years for the, okay, yeah, a lot like for the, okay, let's start over for that. See, we're all screwing up tonight. Okay, the district sales tax for the half-cent sales tax for the district. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in
Don't make
favor?
me repeat.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to go to public hearing on proposed tax amendments to the City of Aransas Pass Ordinance Part 1, Section 300, Subsection 10-216, 252 for the boat or slip or ship, fuel or services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This zoning text amendment before you, it works in conjunction with the resolution that follows. The zoning text amendment would not change the intention, but just the wording. It's for ship, and it's the way that it's worded currently, it puts more emphasis on the fuel. This would just, instead of changing it to, I apologize, I have to admit, I printed out the wrong ordinance amendment and I was just looking for it. And so the ordinance amendment before you, though, is intended to clarify the intended use. And it was after talking with the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's been back and forth with them a few times, and looking at the historic uses that have been under that particular designated use that's identified in our zoning ordinance. This would just update it for clarity.
So I have one question. Best Bet Line Handlers, is that a current business that's already operating?
Yes, ma'am, but not at this location. But Best Bet Line Handlers has been operating with the Port of Corpus Christi for many, many years. What line handlers do is they basically, the main part of their business involves with getting the line handling part is basically boat parking, the way that they manage to park in the port, but they provide a lot of other services. What they're particularly interested in doing at this location in Aransas Pass is what's called ship husbandry. Basically, they would like to be able to use to repair the docks at the location and to be able to use that to have small numbers of crews, like 4 or 5 people, they're mainly engineers, specialists, people that have to go out to the boats to the specialized jobs that go out to these industrial boats, as well as to the different federal agencies that police the waters, including like the U.S. Coast Guard. They work closely with those groups.
Kat,
yes,
the
ma'am.
item we're discussing is a zoning text amendment, not the next item, which is Best Bet Line Handlers.
Correct. I was just trying to adequately describe the proposed use as it pertains
Sorry,
to
that
the.
was my fault then.
And I apologize because I did say that they work in conjunction with another. But as far as it pertains to the zoning text amendment, the uses that are described for the proposed business would fit within it, whether we change the wording or not. The intention, again, is just to update it for clarity. But so that's the reasoning for the proposed zoning text amendment.
Okay.
Sorry, I know me, it's hard. I don't do concise very well. If I need to clarify anything, please let me know.
And this is just on the causeway? This
Yes,
doesn't have anything to
I
do with
was
the
jumping
harbor and or any area, just on Redfish Bay Causeway?
On the item about the resolution for the determination of P&Z, yes.
Right, okay.
This text amendment is just a text amendment, so.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Where are we at? Well, I make a motion that we.
Well, we
No,
did
we're-
our
Oh,
public
sorry.
hearing.
Here we are.
It's
We all need
trickling on
to,
down.
we need a Monday meeting, not a Tuesday meeting.
Not good.
Okay, now I declare the public hearing closed.
Oh, did you ask for comments from the audience?
Any comments from the audience? It's a different night.
We don't have a Monday brain on.
Any comments? No? Okay, now I declare the public hearing closed. Now we go to,
We have a motion and
Oh.
a second to close that.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
okay,
I'll
yes.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now,
Now we're gonna go to consider and act on ordinance number 2019-4228, amending the City of Aransas Pass ordinances. Part 1, Section 10-300- definition and explanation to amendment subsection 252- boat or ship fuel of service, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing for penalties.
Okay. Well, I make a motion, we approve ordinance 2019-4228.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna open public hearing to approve the determination of the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding Best Bet Line Handlers LLC at 2200 East Highway 361, lots 10 and 11, Block 1, Harbor Island Addition. Nueces County shall be allowed to operate under the current general business zoning district destination.
This item before you guys, sorry, I figured I'd stay up here and just, the zoning ordinance requires that if there is a unclassified or a disputed use, that the Planning and Zoning Commission review the proposed use as it pertains to the zoning district and make a recommendation in form of resolution to the City Council. And so the resolution before you comes after meeting with the owner and with the owner's representatives at, I believe, 2 meetings at the least with the Planning and Zoning Commission with regards to clarifying the proposed business use out there. They're not intending to build any structures. The only construction that would happen at this location would be with regard to repairing the piers. This location is where the Aransas Queen Casino was for a period of time. So it's out on the Harbor Island on the left, right before the residential. They would be using it primarily, again, to shuttle small numbers of crew members to the boats out in the harbor, and also small amounts of supplies. Nothing that would necessitate storage, nothing that would necessitate large trucks, or most of these boats are self-sustaining, so they don't have a need for restrooms. They don't have a need for any type of facilities to accommodate the employees that they would be shuttling.
So what size of boats will be coming in there?
They will be about 350? Is that what?
Foot?
The boats? The boat size?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, may I have the gentleman
I
please come to
apologize.
the
Yeah.
podium if he's going to speak? With
Do you
his
mind
name and
coming
his
up to the
address,
podium?
thank you.
This is Mr. Danny Canepa. He has been representing the owner with regard to getting all of the proper clearance from the city before they commence with any type of business operations.
Okay.
And I apologize, the size of the ships was something that I did have together for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm trying to recall it, but I'm worried I'll get it wrong. But most of they were, how long was it?
Well, they probably, I'm just from memory going 120 to 130.
Okay, so much smaller than what I was.
Supply boats?
I'm sorry.
Are they supply boats, crew boats?
Yes.
There's a quite large crew boats. And how many daily? We got that many coming in daily, or what do we got?
I would think, actually, I was not prepared for that. Mr. McCallum normally speaks about this, but I would say that typically they would possibly go into the port or offshore and supply whatever needs they normally do on a ship, for example, that's anchored offshore.
So what is their purpose coming into that location?
Well, to dock there.
I get
To
that.
dock there and take on their supplies that are needed for the vessel that would be somewhere else. Take them
Okay.
supplies, either, in the Gulf or maybe in the harbor.
Okay, but there's only room for one at a time, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it. Yeah, but you take say the crew boat is 120 to 130 feet. That would, I think that's what you'd be looking at. I mean, possibly two, but I don't really, I didn't ask those questions. but-
If the city council feels that they need more information to help them make a decision, you can table this item and bring it back for more information that wasn't presented tonight.
Well, and I would like to.
There's a hand over there.
Okay, Carol's back there.
Back.
You want to
Did you?
Somebody's.
come on up?
The current property owner, Kyle Alston's here, and
Okay.
he's also been attending
Okay.
these meetings.
Good. Good.
Hello, Council, good to be back up here again. I'm Kyle Alston. I'm the current owner of the property in question. Also the owner of the property when the Aransas Queen was there and operating. Like Kat said, the intended use is to repair the existing dock structure that was damaged in the hurricane. The dock structure is only set up for one vessel. So the operator actually has one primary vessel, which is a newer, very nice looking, very well-maintained crew boat that would be operating in and out of there, essentially, like Kat said, supplying the moored ships offshore. There really isn't the possibility that I could see to have more than one boat there at a time.
Okay.
And the proposed boat that would be primarily moored there is notably smaller, actually, in gross tonnage and length than what the Aransas Queen was.
Okay.
And in all likelihood, it would be coming and going quite a bit less frequently than what the Aransas Queen was as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Of course,
Thank you.
Any additional
Thank you.
questions I can answer?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Kat, I think this came up at P&Z. Have you heard from any of the neighbors in that area?
Yes, and we sent out public notice, and I did hear back from the house owner who lives closest, and she actually was mainly didn't want the duck hunters out there anymore. Which there right now people go out there and use the fan boats to do duck hunting. But if there was a business there, that would be the designated use. You would not be allowed to use it for going offshore to do the hunting bits, and so she was in favor of it. So that was the one response that we got regarding this intended property use. And one thing to note is that this property is in a location that is very limited with regard to any other potential development. It is in an area that you would have to either spend a lot of money to extend the sewer out there, or you'd have to be able to engineer the septic to be able to facilitate any type of structure that required running water, plumbing, and the basic amenities that you'd need for a business. It also requires someone who would be able to work with the Army Corps of Engineers with regard to the wetlands designated out there. And that's something that Best Bet Line Handlers has worked with the Corps many times before as far as getting the necessary permits. They're aware of what the process is, and they are fine with having to go through it. It is something that often stops a lot of people as far as doing any development out there on the causeway.
I just know it's a heavily used kayak launch. That's that's all I know. Okay. Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
Mayor, do you want to call for comments from the audience?
Comments?
Any other public comments? Okay, so I consider the public hearing closed.
Okay, so I
Motion
guess-
and a second to close.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve, that we close the public hearing.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to consider an act and approving resolution number 2019-877, approving the determination of the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the Best Bet Line Handlers LLC, 2200 East Highway 361, Lot 10 and 11, Block 1, Harbor Island Edition. Nueces County shall be allowed to operate under the current general business zoning district designation.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2019-877.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to public hearing on the adoption of the Aransas Pass 2018-2028 Comprehensive Plan.
Good evening. This that's why I debated about sitting down. But the comprehensive plan that we've been working on with GrantWorks has been completed and is before you for adoption. It has been on the website for public review since November. So far, the public feedback we have had has been regarding small issues regarding typos. The ordinance that would adopt this comprehensive plan would allow for minor amendments such as like fixing typos or excuse me, small adjustments like that wouldn't affect the intent or the actual comprehensive plan. It would allow for those to be done under the supervision of the Director of Development Services and Public Works. So any changes, even small typo ones, would still have to be approved. And but once adopted, the comprehensive plan can be updated and amended. But we do have to adopt it in order to use it as in order to move forward with some of its recommendations for development.
And there's a monthly review going on right now.
There is, and the Planning and Zoning Commission actually went ahead and started. We were on schedule to have the comprehensive plan adopted in December, and the Planning and Zoning Commission has conducted the Chapter 1 assessment or review. It's a very short chapter. It's largely to do with the vision and mission and goals of the city as far as how we perceive ourselves now and how we want to perceive ourselves in the future. And since we're only adopting it tonight, you will get the report from that meeting regarding Chapter 1, as well as the report for Chapter 2, with recommendations as far as actions that can be taken to implement those suggestions in the comprehensive plan.
Excuse me, so the report is completed, is it?
Yes.
So what's not completed? I'm sorry, Mayor, permission. I don't know if I'm on or off now. I'm confused about what you just said. If you could please explain.
So
Is the comprehensive plan with its recommendations completed and submitted to the council for final review?
Yes, what we're talking about is an ad hoc committee that the council approved for the review post-adoption. So I was just stating that the Planning and Zoning Commission has already taken a look at Chapter 1, and that those comments on that will go to the council. But since it's only being adopted tonight, I didn't think it would be appropriate to go ahead and have the review, present them with the review on Chapter 1 this first night.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
it's a short chapter, so again, those two will be together.
And the comments were dealing just on regards to the contents, as far as can you give us like an example of a comment that they've made?
Okay. So like Chapter 1 has a list of several types of goals. Some of the goals that are identified in there, the commission had little questions about. Like, for example, expanding hunting opportunities within City of Aransas Pass. We were wanting to be more specific regarding fishing, especially since you cannot legally discharge a firearm within city limits. But some of the other stuff that we talked about is the things, the Chapter 1 identifies some of the stuff we want to see not happen anymore, the things that we want to fix. For example, junk RV parks, or so we talked about getting an amortization schedule to try to combat some of the junk buildings that we have as far within the parameters of zoning as far as what we can do. And so we've talked about looking at getting the amortization schedule for some of the uses that have that negative impact when they are not maintained. So that's just an example of one of the recommendations based on a chapter. Again, this one was a very light chapter. It includes survey results as far as identifying how the citizens see the city and how they want, what their opinion was on how the direction of the city should go. So the feedback for Chapter 1 is pretty limited. It's mainly, this is what our public image is, and this is what we're trying to do. What are some of the steps that we can go to start to initiate those changes? The chapters, though, that as we go on are going to be more intensive. There's, I believe the next one is the housing chapter. And so that would be more reports as far as like recommendations for, but I don't want to speak for them. But yeah.
Okay.
So tonight, we're just adopting the comprehensive plan.
Yep, as a whole.
Yeah, okay.
Did you have something to say, Roxanne?
Any comments from the public?
Anything I have to say would be an executive session. Thank you, sir.
But should we be voting on this? Is it something that we need to consider,
We need to table it.
that we should table this?
If the council would like to go into executive session regarding this item, you may.
And we can bring it up later, after executive session?
I think we ought to table it.
It's not on the agenda for after the executive
Oh,
session.
okay.
All items on the agenda can go into executive session. The agenda language is prepared that way if you look at the end of your agenda. So we can go into executive session for it at any time the council seeks. So if you'd like to hold off on this and go into executive session for legal advice, and then you can come back and take action on it.
But we're on the public hearing. Do we need to close it right now?
Yes,
or-
you may close the public hearing and move on to the next item and go into executive session for it and to call it at the end of the meeting. I just confused you.
Okay,
Close your public hearing
okay.
if there are no more comments. And then call the next item. Unless the council wants to go into executive session for that item, you can say we will hold this off and go into executive session at the end of the meeting and come back out for action.
Yes, we can do
I think that
Yeah, that'd be a
seems
good idea.
logical.
that. Is there any public comment?
Is there any public comments? Okay, now I declare the public hearing closed. Now we make a motion.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna,
So we're gonna move this to executive session?
Okay,
Okay.
you can just get through that one, and we'll just deal with that one in executive session.
Okay, then we just move on.
okay, let's go to public hearing on the proposal replat of lots 4 to 25 and Lot B, Block 1 of Harbor Heights, Phase 1.
So the replat before you guys tonight is for the already annexed, already platted portion of Harbor Heights. This replat would not, it is only for a section of the lots, and it's based on a request for larger backyards. So the only changes that this replat will have is that a strip of the houses in Phase 1 will have slightly larger backyards. There is no increase in impervious surface, so there has been no requirement for it. There's no additional drainage, there's no drainage concerns from that. However, we have had some of the neighbors who have been concerned, who have come to planning and zoning regarding the drainage issues. And if there are any further questions regarding that, the engineer with urban engineering who's been working on the process, on the Hogan Homes development is here, so if there's any questions on it. We're in public hearing.
Any questions from the audience?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Let me grab his handies out.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Keller. I live at 2194 West Highland. And we're urging council not to approve any further development of the Hogan Homes subdivision. As you can see with the handouts I gave you, we have been underwater for months. And the reason this happened was when they developed the Hogan Homes subdivision, they designed all their streets to drain into a retention pond, which in and of itself is fine. They did not take into consideration what would happen when that retention pond was full. They did not coordinate with the county at all. I have been in contact, I don't see Howard, our county commissioner here. So what happened back in last September is, of course, we got about 30 inches of rain in a month, and although we didn't get it in one day, it pushed their retention pond beyond its capacity, and then therefore it flooded all of us going down the street toward heading toward 1069. My neighbor, Ed Glassick, who's not here tonight, his property is still, you can't even get on it. It's completely flooded. And my property, so it came across his, then came across ours, and it's washed away our driveway and did other damage to some other people down the street. So as you can see that from the handout, that the water is a significant issue. There is still water draining down there. The county has now come and started digging ditches and putting in culverts and doing all those kind of things that, had that been done when the subdivision was going in, we wouldn't be here tonight. But we have sustained some pretty substantial damage, and so we're asking that the council not approve anything further until there is some satisfactory evidence that it has been the problem has been rectified, and we've been taking, our damages have been taken care of, and I think how they deal with that will speak volumes as to the character of the Hogan Homes Corporation. We're just citizens down the street that have been damaged. It is against the law in the state of Texas to flood your neighbors. So we know that the issue before you tonight, you'll probably pass that because it really doesn't have all that great impact on the drainage. But there is further development of Hogan Homes coming up, and so we wanted to make sure you had notice as to what's going on further on down the road. and that people like us are being damaged by that. You have anything else to say? Okay, my better half.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your service. My name is Deborah Keller. I also live at 2194 West Highland. We are asking that you not approve this. We just really don't want to see any more development until the drainage is taken care of. I'm not exactly sure why the drainage, when this development was approved by the city, that you didn't require that they drain into the city storm drains. What they have done is they've drained all this into what they're calling this detention pond, which you can see is this first page. And it's about 2 to 3 foot deep. It is not deep enough. It is, I call it a gully. It was just dug out like a ditch. And then the next page, which is really where the problem lies, is they also dug a ditch on behind the property line, not in the county easement where you would put a ditch, but it's behind the property line, which is the reason that it flowed right into our neighbor's property. It had no way to go into the ditch that would typically go to 1069, so that's why it flooded us out. They purposely dug that ditch, which stops right at our neighbor's property line. So it flooded into there, it flooded then into our property and then to our neighbor's property. This is not owned by Hogan Homes. It's privately owned, under contract by Hogan Homes, but they, I'm assuming they got permission to do that. But again, you don't dig a ditch to go directly into someone's property to flood them, and this was dug so that the retention pond would flow into that ditch. And then it had nowhere else to go except to the neighbor's yard. And you can see where the next page is, that it's flowing into the neighbor's property. And then the next page is our property, where it flowed from his property into our property. Again, we had just spent $12,000 to put in driveways and a driveway into our property, and now that drive is gone. And so you can see what our driveway looked like. When they came in and put in culverts in our driveway, they couldn't get them deep enough because the water was flowing so much. So they have to come now and redo our culverts. We're still waiting on that. And that detention pond is still full, still draining. It will be summer before it will be drained out. And if they're going to do, this is phase 1, they're looking at 5 phases. It's not going to work. It's going to flood us. We're going to become swampland, all of our properties on that road. They're going to have to give up, in my opinion, a phase and do a true retention pond. If you look at the one at Walmart, that's a retention pond. They didn't flood their neighbors. This is just a ditch that goes right into our properties. I would strongly suggest y'all take a look at this. It is not fun living over there. We've loved our property until this year. We've never had any flooding whatsoever like this. They built that subdivision up, and the topography of the land over there, everything flows towards 1069. And when they built it up, there was even more runoff, and we just can't survive it. There's other neighbors down the street that are very upset about it as well. Again, they did not talk to the county about this. We met with Hogan Homes. We met with Howard Gillespie, our commissioner. Howard's been great in trying to get as much work done as he can. But this detention pond that they call is in the county. It's not in the city. And it's not acceptable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, want to point out, this is phase 1 we're talking about. Phase 1 is already approved. And also, we're talking about simply extending so that there will be more backyards. All that is permeable surface. It's not impermeable surface. So just something else to keep in mind is what I'm saying.
As it stands,
What you're talking about, what they're talking about is the later phases, I would think.
Right.
I say they can already go ahead and pull a permit on the lots as they are. The only difference is that they wouldn't have as big of backyards if the replat is not allowed. So we're grateful for the concerns that have been brought up. We did get the construction plans for phase 2. Those have already been shared with the county to ensure that there's open communication between all of the jurisdictions that need to be involved in making sure that that it's done properly as far as drainage. The Hogan Homes did submit drainage plans. They've exceeded our standards. It's just that we did have the very, very intense rain event this past summer. But the concerns we're still trying to address those concerns. And I know that, again, I know the engineers here with regard, and he could probably speak to better about how they're addressing some of those concerns. But this particular replat doesn't pertain to the phase 2 development, so this won't have any impact on those concerns their neighbors kindly brought up tonight.
This is pretty much just getting a bigger backyard, that's it.
That's what
Right.
it is, yeah.
Yes. Well, the flooding certainly needs to be addressed. We all
Absolutely.
understand that, and that needs to be rectified and figured out at some point sooner than later. This particular item doesn't address that, so we will move on with this item.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure the county is doing something about it right now. Okay, so any other comments? So now
Make a motion that we close the public hearing?
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So now we go to consider an act on replat of lots 4 through 25 and Lot B, Block 1 of Harbor Heights, Phase 1.
Okay, well, I make a motion, we approve the replat of lots 4 through 25 and Lot B, Block 1 of Harbor Heights, Phase 1.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the city manager.
Mr. Mayor and Council, first want to point out that we can't access the agenda memos tonight. Apologize for that, but the system is not allowing us to do that for various reasons. Moving forward with the agenda, that's the item to offer an EAP program, Employee Assistance Program, through the Family Counseling Service. It's something that, frankly, most cities have. We do not have. It's relatively inexpensive, and it offers services that we do not offer at this point. There is a representative of Family Counseling Services here tonight if you need to ask any questions. Put in the agenda memo, which I can't pull up, the cost of this and how it's calculated. If you need any more answers on that other than what is there, the representative for Family Counseling Services is here and can answer any of those questions. It's relatively inexpensive, but want to bring it to your attention because it is an agreement, and want you to be aware of that service that will be out there if, in fact, you approve it.
I have no questions.
It's pretty clear.
I thought it was pretty clear myself. So I make a motion that we approve the city entering into with an agreement with the Family Counseling Services for an employee assistance program.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, next item is acting on a change order number 1 with Division Construction for the Pelican Cove repairs. This amounts to $54,613. The information that the engineer was working with initially had some discrepancies that we gave them, and consequently there's a need to revise those plans. The contractor who was here tonight found out some problems at the site, the engineer, and brought that to the attention of the engineer. So we revised those plans, sent a diver down to look at it anew, and for the project to continue, that change order is needed at that price, which, and the mayor is aware of that. He's looked at that also. And so that's what's before you, is a change order on this particular project.
Gary, the only thing that I would like to add to this is I would like to see that when we do the road closure in this work, that we have an officer there for traffic control, and I think it's important in that neighborhood to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And in fact, Juan, who is, are you, oh, there you go. He has made that request, and it's for the safety of people who watch. Perfectly understandable, and have not talked with the police chief about that yet. Want to see what you did with this tonight.
Okay.
But yes, that's, and Public Works can help with that also to some degree. So that's an excellent point, and that's part of the agreement, quite frankly.
Okay, good.
Am I leaving anything out, Juan? Okay.
Do you know how long it would take to make the repairs?
Juan, introduce yourself and.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Juan with Division 16 Construction. I'm the general contractor out on the project. We anticipate we probably need about a week of mobilization. Thereafter, 4 weeks to complete the project, weather pending.
So a total of about 5 weeks.
About 5 weeks. Any other questions?
Have you done this type of work before?
Yes, ma'am.
Your particular
Yes,
division? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
And do you foresee any other problems here
No,
after this is done?
No, that was the reason that we hired a diver. We wanted to make sure that the solution we proposed to you guys was going to be as foolproof as possible. We've taken a lot of time, a lot of exploration to make sure that we have a good idea of what we're going to find when we dig the site up, and we feel very confident that this proposed solution is going to be the best thing for the city moving forward.
Fantastic. And when will you begin, do you think?
Right now, we're anticipating, if council chooses to move forward with this change order, that we're anticipating will be mobilized on Monday, and we'll start the work immediately.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'm good with it.
Me too. Let's get it done.
I see no problems. I'm okay with it.
Well, I make a motion, we approve change order 1 with Division 16 Construction for the Pelican Cove repairs in the amount of $54,613.
I'll
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, next item is the agreement with the real estate company, Ultima Real Estate Company, Jim Paxton, for any representation we might need on LWR. And it's a renewal. You've had that agreement before, and the question is, do you want to continue it? And that's what's before you.
I make a motion that we renew the commercial real estate listing with Ultima Real Estate for LWR.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the next item is something you do every year. Rosemary, are you here? Oh, there you are. Very good. You want to explain, once again, every year, what it is?
Something we do every year. I have to come to you and ask you for permission to use the ground so we can start promoting shrimpery. We start in February. And before I do that, I want to make sure that you know that we're going to have the insurance for the city, vice versa, the city insures the chamber. We're asking for road closures for Danforth, Arch, and Highland, as per the police department's recommendations on certain hours during the times of the event. And the use of public safety for the budget of up to $30,000, not to exceed $30,000. We feel like it's going to be a little bit lower than that this year. We're going to do something different with security and patrol on the streets. 7th, 8th, and 9th, and with the carnival starting on the 6th.
Did I miss a meeting? Did you give us an update what you made last year, or how successful it was? I know you said you were working on it, and I don't know that if I missed a meeting or not.
No, you didn't. I don't remember doing that at all.
How did you do last year, considering everything?
We didn't do well with attendance at admission. The reason we came out ahead was because we had Rebuild Texas come in and give us a sponsorship to make sure that we did well. But because of the condition of the grounds, we had people that were coming and immediately leaving as soon as they got there with the sand. So had it not been for Rebuild Texas last year, we probably would have been in the red.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
The sand was bad.
Excuse me?
The sand was bad.
Oh, the sand was.
How's the grass out there now? I haven't been out there lately.
I don't know. I haven't looked. I guess I could go make a run out there, but I haven't looked.
It's not growing very well in the heavily traveled areas by the trash debris, so.
So that may be something that we need to look at. We have time right now to at least put some seed down if we have to.
We just need to seed that one.
Because even the craft vendors on Sunday morning were leaving, their goods were getting damaged, and they just didn't want to be out there, and we couldn't force them to stay out there.
You can't?
We just need to seed it down, grow some grass.
Well, we have enough time to do that now.
Oh, yeah, we get started
You
now,
know,
we
and
can get that
then
grass growing.
mark it off so that nobody can get on there.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Okay, well, I make a motion, we approve the request from the Aransas Pass Chamber of Commerce to use Community Park for the Shrimpery grounds, public safety assistance and protection to temporarily closed streets during the Shrimpery event scheduled for June 7th through 9, 2019, with the carnival beginning June 6, 2019.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go to community enrichment. Community enrichment includes the following: Civic Center, aquatic facilities, library, and senior center, and the sheriff's turn.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council. How are you? I do have an agenda item that I had put together for you. It's on page 45 of your packet. If you're looking at that, I also printed up what we had discussed, our packets from the 15th, our workshop on the 15th, so you have that in front of you as well. This is not an action item this evening, but what I am wanting to get from you is y'all kind of agreed that y'all did want to see a rate increase, to see what y'all would like that rate increase to be. So I could take that rate increase with me, write out the new fees, and we could bring that before you again and adopt it as an ordinance. So have y'all had time to think about that on your own, or do you want to just discuss it in further? If you look on page, and I'm sorry it can't come up, but you did had two questions that you left me with after our rate workshop, and it was about private events held. So I didn't go back to 2018 just because of Harvey. I went back to our past full year, which was 2017. And in 2017, we held private events held in 2017 were 23 in total, of which 12 were residents and 9 were non-residents.
I have an off-the-wall question for you, Sarah.
Yes, ma'am.
How high would you have to, you know the profit and loss all the time on that.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Where would you have to be in order to just break even on here?
Break even on the Civic Center altogether?
Just the Civic
To
Center.
not have that deficit?
Oh, my God.
How high would you have to go?
How high would I have to go?
And how can we go out there and do we send out packages to companies saying that we
I
can have
think
Christmas parties? What do we do to encourage people? Because 23 private events for a whole year is nothing.
Yes, that's private events. We are booked we are booked 52 weekends out of the year.
I
What we need
understand
to do, the bread and butter for the Civic Center, which is going to get us more out of the, further away from the deficit we're running in, is going to be weekday rentals. That's going to be training. That's going to be corporate events. People that come in and do daytime training, which we can really tap into that. So I'm not looking to raise our weekday rentals, but I really would like to raise our weekend rentals. I feel like we're kind of giving that away when we could be making a little bit more money off of that as well.
But weekday rentals, would be the trainings and stuff, and you don't
Yes.
think corporations would pitch in a little bit more?
Well, I do, I just don't think we're at a point right now because we don't have as many booked to raise those rates.
Where else would they go?
Where else would corporate events?
Where can corporates go?
There were before Harvey, there were times when we had, booked months at a time by Chevron and different companies that were coming in here to train. We just haven't, we don't have those right now.
I think what she's saying,
Yeah.
so where are they booking?
Yeah, are we
I'm not-
soliciting their business? Is somebody
Well,
going
right now,
out there
they're not interest-
knocking on doors?
We're not open right now. We can't accommodate training for them right now. We're an unsafe,
I understand that, but to start booking for the future, hey, we're gonna open our doors and.
Well, as soon as we
can't wait till we open the doors. We need to be proactive,
Sure,
not
and
reactive.
I think we get calls all the time. I think that people are anxious to book with us and do their events with us. Every time I get calls from people that have done it with us in the past, I'm like, look, we're not there yet. Keep us in mind. We will be, right when we open our doors, we're happy to have you. We'll accommodate you. We'll bend over backwards for you.
Are you keeping their name and numbers?
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
I have a whole.
a month later?
Yes, I have.
Say, hey, we're gonna open in a month and we need to book that time?
Sure, I have we keep a list of all of our contacts for.
Because
those
one of the
events.
things you said is that when we get those calls,
Yes.
so that lets me know that you're not going out actively and soliciting business for during the week. You're waiting for them to come to you rather
Sure.
than you going out.
And we-
So I think what Jan was trying to say, and I can, and I agree with her, is more or less when the Civic Center's gonna be finished. You more or less
Sure.
have okay. So I think what Jan was talking about, and I agree with her, is that you going out and start calling these companies, hey, our Civic Center is going to be finished, give them an extra month, and, we're gonna be open for business. You're training, not wait for them to call you, but you make that call initially. That's what we're
Sure.
looking for.
Absolutely.
Only if you can give us a report as far as the calls that you've made, who you contact, what was the response, in some way kind of give us an update, just because, Civic Center has been in the red, and I understand we're not ever gonna be in the black, which would be really great, but the more we can do to minimize the deficit
Sure.
would be great. And so that hinges on you, how active are you in recruiting the business to book the Civic Center? We have a great building, great facility. What are we doing to get the word out to the businesses that have never used it or they use it in the past? What are you doing? What's your game plan on that?
Sure.
Maybe some type of glossy flyer brochure
Sure.
or something that you're sending out.
Yeah, and we have rack cards, we have stuff like that we have available. We need to update them, with current rates and stuff like that, but we just haven't,
You have to
Right.
get the new
Yeah.
rates before you update them.
it's a work in progress.
What is the date on the reopening?
The end of February, I don't know the exact date.
Oh, well,
but it
that's
should be- yeah,
soon.
it's very soon,
Yeah,
yes.
so that's probably
And I have-
something to really look into
yes,
as
and
far
we
as
are-
reaching out to.
And we're ready to wrap it up and open up our doors, and we're gonna be, we have people waiting.
By the end of the year, we're gonna be all booked up, right?
During the week.
We can hope for, we can hope for, we can do our, we are one of the best venues in our.
That's exactly right.
Exactly,
We have to
and
get the
people,
word out.
and people do know about us,
Remind
so
people. Right.
we can.
Yeah, but we
we
should
can
be letting them
definitely do
know,
it.
hey, March
Yeah.
1st, we're opening the
For
doors
sure.
or sooner.
Yeah.
And we want to, book your days now and.
Well, we can definitely
Start
do that.
booking.
It's something we've done in the past, and we can definitely work on that, in
And
the
something you can do,
future.
if it's gonna open up for weekdays, hey,
Sure.
if you book early, we can give you a discount on the weekday rate.
Sure.
So start, an incentive to the clients to come and start booking. I
Okay,
think
so-
you're looking for direction from us, whether.
Yes, I am looking for direction for y'all.
Raise it. I think you need to raise it during the
For
week
the, for the
too.
rate increase, and
Keep it
what,
the same or go up higher.
Oh, no, we need to
what's
raise
the,
it.
what I'm recommending to you all for this rate increase, and this doesn't have to be the only one we do, and this is not, you're not acting on this is just something that I'm gonna take away and bring back to you all, is what percentage y'all'd like to see on our weekday rentals. Weekend rentals, sorry, weekend rentals.
I'm looking at
10,
15%.
15, or
I would say
20%.
15, that's me.
I'd like to see what those numbers look like at 15%.
And they're in your handout for sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it was that one.
It's in our agenda.
I didn't even, yeah.
It's in your agenda memo on page
All I have to
45,
do
I
is turn
believe.
over the page,
Yeah.
you know?
Sorry, it's not coming over, it's on page 45.
Okay.
I tried to keep it
Okay.
pretty easy.
And I believe we need to raise even the weekday rates, you know, by a couple of pennies, by
Right.
something. Because every little bit helps, and
Right,
I think residents should get some kind of a discount.
right.
To include the police department?
No.
No,
Police department.
no, you have lots of money. Nah.
You can
Okay.
you can double the department.
So y'all are wanting, I'm hearing 15%?
15% is good.
Okay, 15%
Across the board?
across the
Across the
board?
board.
Let's do across the board, okay? And then how do y'all feel about the resident discount?
Yes.
20?
What-
10%?
What now, do you give them any discounts right now?
No, ma'am.
So we're gonna raise it 15 and give them 20% off?
No.
That doesn't make sense.
I would
I'm
say
just
give
looking
them
out
the
for the
15%.
citizens.
Increase 15% across the board and give residents for private events 15% off.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, with proof of
So
residency.
keep
Okay.
the rate
So
for,
corporate events, you know,
no.
open to public events, no proof of residency, private events, 15%. I'm just writing this down so I have it clear, so when I
That's
bring it
what
for
I
you,
would
it's
say. I
what
don't
you're,
know what the
what
rest
you're
of
wanting.
the council-
No,
I agree with that.
15%
agree.
increase, okay.
I agree.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We will, I will put this together and I'll bring it to you as an action item, okay?
Thank you, Sarah.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, ma'am.
Okay, now we're gonna go to development services. Development services include the following: building services, parks, planning, public works, and maintenance. Consider an act on issuance of a request for proposal for bleacher replacement at the city-owned ball fields.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have before you is just allowing us to go out for bids for replacement of bleachers at the Little League and softball fields. As y'all know, after the storm, out of the 10 bleacher sets we had, we lost 6 of them that were damaged. FEMA is covering this under their program, and they're actually doing mitigation and allowing us to anchor them down to the cement that's there. And the ones that didn't have cement, we're gonna add a cement foundation to anchor them down. So this is just for us to go out and get bids, and then we'll come back to y'all with the bids that come in for recommendation for approval.
So these bids are for the company to come in and replace the bleachers, is that
Is
what?
to purchase and install the bleachers, and then the ones that are still good to install them anchored to concrete.
Is there, I'm just kind of wondering, because if you've ever sat on those during the hot weather, you know, it's pretty warm.
Yeah, right now,
And is there any, I don't know. if there's
we're
any
looking
kind of-
at that through some other grant stuff. FEMA is only gonna replace what was there.
Uh-huh.
So it will be the same type of bleacher that was there, the 8 rows, 21 foot.
And the metal ones, yeah.
Yes, with fencing on it on the top, so to avoid anyone falling over. But we are looking at trying to do some canopies through some grant to
Good.
provide shade out there.
I was gonna say, because it's, yeah. Good
And
deal.
what are we doing with the old ones?
They're
Can you sell
gone.
them
They
for
were,
scrap?
yeah, they were destroyed. They were,
Okay.
some of those, you couldn't even sit on them anymore.
Yeah, but they were aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah. 45 cents.
There you go.
Right. So is this the Little League fields and the softball fields?
Yes, there's some at softball and some at Little League.
Right.
Yeah, city-owned ball fields.
So,
I make a motion that we authorize the city to go out for RFPs for the replacement of bleachers at the city ball fields.
a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're gonna go to consider an act on the issuance of request for proposal,
Yep.
for,
Yep.
For Pelican
Pelican
Cove.
Cove replacement.
No,
No.
that's the
Yes.
one where,
Yes, and we're recommending we table this one. We need to get a little bit more information to verify that it is 100% covered by FEMA, so
Which is this one?
the Pelican Cove fence.
Fence.
Okay.
yeah,
Table.
it's a,
Yes.
I make a motion that we table. 9.1.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right?
The next one is another request for proposals for the fence line at the wastewater treatment plant. This one was also destroyed by the storm. And by TZQ, we're supposed to have secured area, so we need to go ahead and move forward with replacing it. We've already taken the measurements, and it is covered through FEMA, so we just need permission to go out for bids.
Okay, I make a motion that we authorize staff to go out for RFPs for the replacement of the damaged chain link fence at the wastewater treatment plant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is another request for proposals. This one is for our SCADA system, which is what monitors our lift stations. What we had was only the major lift stations being monitored. With this program, we're gonna go ahead and have all the lift stations, our stormwater pumps, our water pumps, and our treatment plant all monitored through the system. It will send us alerts whenever there's any type of issue, a flow goes out at high level, if there's a power outage, it'll alert us on a tablet or on our phone so staff can get out immediately. You will be able to manipulate it through the tablet, so you can, if you're at home in the middle of the night, you can immediately make changes so that you don't have to travel out. If it is something that requires someone to be out on the field, they will get the alert and go out. This is also through FEMA. We are looking at mitigation so that we can do the additional and the upgrade, because what we had is over 10 years old and it needs to be replaced into the current system. So again, this is just for us to go out for bids and get proposals.
I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely.
I make a motion that we authorize staff to publish a RFP for a replacement and addition of new damaged SCADA systems at various locations.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is a request for qualifications. This would be seeking out professional engineering services for the design of the new roadways we got the grant for on the harbor. So this is for us to go out and request qualifications for engineering services to do the design of all those new roadways.
And we're gonna make sure that when we do that road, we gonna have good property on both sides to be able to develop whatever we need.
Yes, and then we're gonna have the hike and bike trail along with it too, so all that needs to be engineered for drainage and anything else. We are looking at doing an additional alternate bid for closing the water loop up there, so for water quality, and possibly doing an alternate for the parking lot if we have funds available with this
Are they gonna be
project.
curb?
Yes, curb and gutter.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, it's gonna go that way.
You should bring that forward to the rest of the streets.
I just can't wait.
Okay, I make a motion that we authorize staff to publish a RFQ for engineering services for the roadway project at Calm Brown Harbor.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The last item I have for you tonight is the lease agreement between the city and the Little League. Once again, it's that time of year where the Little League is going to be using our fields, so we have an agreement before you for them to lease and use our fields. As per previous agreements, it's $1 a month for the use of the fields that the city charges, and it's a 7-month lease.
I make a motion that we approve the lease agreement with the Aransas Pass Little League for $1 a month for the duration of the agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So now we'll go to consider an act on ordinance number 2019-4230, amending the City of Aransas Pass Code of Ordinance Chapter 14.5, Housing Article 1 to define and regulate home occupancy, repealing all ordinances of or parts of ordinances in conflict herewithin, providing a severability clause, providing for inclusion in code, providing for penalties.
Oh, my goodness.
Kat, is this yours?
This is, and this was intended to be viewed in conjunction with some zoning text amendments that after discussion, we wanted to table. I would request that this be tabled so that it can go with the zoning. The intention of we're trying to better police and have better, clearer regulations for home occupations. This is the side that doesn't pertain to the zoning bit. These are proposed regulations as far as what we would look at for requiring those regulations, basically. But it's intended to go with the zoning amendment, and so if we can table this so that they can be viewed together.
Make a motion, we table 9.7.
Seven? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we go to the monthly building department report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to try and keep this short. Last month, we were at about a volume of $1.5 million. This month, we've hit 3.1 million. Compared that to this time last year, right after the storm, we were at 2.8 for the month. So we've been kind of averaging about $1.5 million to $2 million a month. So this month was a little bit better. Also, I thought I'd kind of give you an update as well on our demolition program. To date, we've done 30 demolished structures in town, and we're working on more. So, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We should be getting pictures when you do those demolitions, so we can post them, cleaning up Aransas Pass on the new website. That looks terrific. I think that would be great.
Yep.
We'll make sure to have that PowerPoint at the next city council meeting for you to review.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Like we did a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sandra?
No, you're gonna be my hand.
Can't pull it up.
I can tell you what page to go on. if you
I
want.
can't pull it
You
up.
can't go anywhere? Okay. Which one is mine? I start, okay, consider an act of resolution
Investment
number,
policy.
2019-878, renewing the City of Aransas Pass investment policy. We have an investment policy that was last renewed, brought to you back in 2014, I want to say was the last time. We're supposed to bring this policy before you once a year. So we're going to put it on the agenda the beginning of the year, once a year, so that you all can review. I can let you know what changes are being proposed on the policy right now. Pretty much the only change that's being proposed to the policy is the collateral that a bank is allowed to use for pledging, for insuring our money. Obviously, we're insured up to the $250,000 with FDIC insurance. Anything above that we have at the bank, the banks at the current policy have to issue securities, pledge a security to us. So, and we hold that security. So what we're amending is to continue allowing a bank to use the pledged securities, but also to allow a bank to use a letter of credit from the Federal Home Loan Bank. That's a less expensive route that a bank has to secure our money, and hopefully that cost savings to the bank will trickle down as a cost savings in services to the city as well. We are probably going to be going out for bids later on this year for a depository bank again. So this is a good timing for the policy. Basically, that is the only change in the policy. It makes your investment officers to be the city manager, the position of the city manager, the position of the finance director, whoever holds those positions as your investment officers. The officers need to go to a mandatory training. I've already been to mine. Gary hasn't been to his.
Yes,
you have to go to a mandatory training every 2 years. So you are required to take an 8-hour class every 2 years about the the Public Investment Act in the state of Texas. So we are required to do that to make sure that our investment policies are in compliance. So I've attended that. Gary, we spoke last week, and he will be attending his. And but the only change, like I said, is just allowing a letter of credit as a form of collateral for a bank that wishes to do business with us.
Is that acceptable, recommended?
Yes, it is acceptable, both by the act itself. It is, and we are recommending it. I am recommending it.
Okay, we say the act itself.
The Public Fund Investment Act.
Okay.
So.
Do other municipalities use this, or?
It is, I don't know, I'm not going to say how many municipalities use. I know that at the training I attended, the presenter there was the director of finance, I forgot what city. And I know that they went to a letter of credit. They started allowing letter of credits. I don't know offhand. I don't want to tell you X number of cities are using the letter of credit. You don't have to allow for the letter of credit. If you want to continue just having the pledged securities as collateral, then we could just continue to have the pledged securities as collateral. The letter of credit is a secure form of collateral. It's a less expensive venture for the bank. The bank doesn't have to go out and purchase the securities that they're going to collateralize your money with. That allows them to free up their money to do other sorts of investments and other returns on that money, which in turn, hopefully, like I said, will give us a cost savings to us for our services that we get from them. But like I said, it's up to you. However you feel. I know that you have the banking background. I don't know how you feel about the letter of credit, but
I'm just kind of iffy about that.
you can take it out. You can say, without, we can take it out right now out of the language, and it's not gonna hurt my feelings. It's okay. It's really and truly, I'm on the fence on it.
Is it all,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of, to play around with the city's money.
I agree.
that
I
to
will
me
say
is a
this,
risky-
we don't have a lot of money at the
It doesn't
bank.
matter.
No, at our
We have a dollar, we want a
depository.
security.
Yes, at our depository. At our depository, we don't carry that much cash. I try to move all our money from Prosperity into tax pool, and because that's currently giving us the most return for our investment versus in keeping it at the bank. So even the chief moved his money from the drug funds into the tax pool. So we try to keep. I would say we have less than $250,000 in the bank because we keep our money at tax pool, and tax pool is, they'll give you their $1 value. If anything happens, you will get your return on your investment. You will get all your money there. But this is only pertaining to your depository bank, which is your primary bank, like Prosperity right now.
I would be very nervous about having a line of credit protect the city's account,
Okay.
even if we have a dollar.
Okay, that's fine.
I would say strike it from the verbiage.
If that's the pleasure of
That's what I
the
recommend.
council, yes.
Strike it from the verbiage.
Well, you know best. You've been in the banking
Yeah, we have
business
to
long
rely
enough.
on
We're
your
gonna listen to
expertise
you.
on that.
Mhm.
It would be, let me tell you where it's at. It's on page 6, and it's letter D on authorized collateral. And if you want to strike that from what you're approving, that would be perfectly fine. That is the only thing that's different from this policy versus the one that you had in 2014.
Okay, you're talking about authorized collateral?
Yes, letter D.
Okay, well, make a motion that we accept what is it, our investment policy, except for striking under authorized collateral, letter D, line of credit. A letter of credit, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Not a problem.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so we're gonna be going to, our financials. Now, our monthly financial report for the month of December. I know you don't have it, but in your packets, you should have that. Year-to-date, our revenues are $4.8 million. Our expenditures are $3.1 million. For the month of December, we did not meet our revenue benchmark, what we had budgeted. We had budgeted 2.6 million, and the revenues that came in were at 2.3 million. But our expenditures, we had budgeted $1.2 million, and we spent $821,000. So that's a considerable savings. So that savings is what's keeping us going, even though we haven't met our revenue, what we had budgeted. The savings in the expense side is what's still keeping us afloat. The first graph that you have on the second page would be your budgeted over your actual. That's your revenues. The blue is the budget. The orange color is the actual. And you'll notice that we were not able to meet any of our threshold revenues on that. I don't know if you have a black and white or.
We have color.
You have color, okay, awesome, because I was like, maybe you don't have color. Okay, the second, is gonna be your expenditures, once again, and you'll notice that our expenditures are way down from what we had budgeted for the month. And then we have, property tax collected, there is a typo on this one and the one that's following. It should be decreased, not increased on the side, I do apologize about that. There was a decrease of $21,440, it should be, not, I put an extra 4 there, sorry. So.
On which side?
On
the
on
property
the,
tax
yes,
collected.
on the bottom right,
Should be the
decrease,
Should be decreased?
Decrease.
yes, not increase. And then the same thing goes for the other side, for the sales tax year-to-date collected. It should be decreased, not increase. And we've decreased collections by 50,281 year-to-date.
Now, do you want to explain the year-to-date?
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's on my other slide, sorry. I guess when I say year-to-date, I know that my fiscal year begins October and ends September, but a lot of people that are the end users of this report may not necessarily know that. So we'll be making a correction on the year-to-date to specify October to December, October to January, so that the end user, I know that you may know what our year-to-date is, but maybe the public that'll go online and look at these reports doesn't necessarily know that that is our year-to-date, you know. So we're gonna be making that correction on those reports moving forward. And the last slide I wanted to include here was, there could be some confusion as to the sales tax that we collect. And sometimes when we see reports of other entities putting sales tax collections together and we see our number way down here and other entities way up here, we have to keep in mind that we collect 1 penny that goes into our general fund, okay? And we collect the other pennies divided into 2, into the MDD board and to the crime board. So every month I'm gonna be presenting to you what those 2 pennies look like in collections. And it'll be the year-to-date collections of those 2 pennies. Other cities don't have necessarily the boards that we have that collect those half cents. And they may be collecting the 2 cents that goes all into their general fund. And so when you see that, you really have to look at, do they have boards that collect other pennies? Or how much is really going to their general fund? So this is why we're gonna I'm gonna start including this graph every month for you so that you know how much really we're collecting and where that's going. And that's my presentation, unless you all have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm gonna say it here one more time. Okay, so I'm gonna present to you all the first quarter for the fiscal year, for our public, our investment. Okay. We have had 10% of our investment is in prosperity. That's how much money we have. 10% of our money is there. 40% is at tax pool, and 50% is at Texas class. That's our bond money, the money that we've gotten from our bonds. We have an average quarterly amount of money to invest. This quarter was $7.9 million. Of that, we earned $40,818 in interest for the quarter. That is giving us a return on our investment of 2.19%. Now we're gonna benchmark ourselves to the 3-month T-bill. The 3-month T-bill return on investment was 2.36%. So we were not able to meet our benchmark of the 2.36. And the reason we've not been able to meet that is we have to stay very liquid, because we have all these projects that we're working on with FEMA, and we have to stay very liquid. We don't have the luxury right now of investing that money like in a 6-month CD that'll give us a little bit more return on our investment, and that's why we've not been able to meet that benchmark. But we are gonna move towards that in the future, but for right now, that's the reason why. Do you all have any questions?
So far, no.
Okay, I think that's all for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clear and concise. Yay.
Now we're gonna go to public safety.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And this report is online, so if anybody wants to see the illustration, you guys got it. First and foremost, just so you know, our daily blotters and everything have been down because we went through an intensified software update with our report management vendor. And part of that update is opening us up for a NIBRS grant that will hopefully help save some monies in our computer and technology upgrades this year to the tune of just over $80,000. So I do plan on getting those public reports back out very, very soon, the daily reports and the media weekly reports and everything to the public. They've been hounding me for it, and they deserve it. Of course, we had that Terry Carter situation. He was stealing copper at the Hawthorne, and we caught him in the act, and that we shared that with the public as well. Our dive team is back at full strength. In fact, they got deployed to Ingleside either last week or the week before to assist with a guy that fell into the water and kind of disappeared in the water. Fortunately, the guy showed up before they were able to find him in the water, and he was drunk, so he went to jail. We finally got our Durangos deployed after about 13 months of waiting for them, and that's mainly because the outfitter in Houston was kind of a pain with us. Training last month was about 200 hours of training, and you're going to see a lot more of that training. Lynn has been super busy now that the hurricanes have given him a break. Yeah, so training will go back down. Of course, our new police officer, you guys have met her, is Jessica Daugherty. She has already completed her transition from animal control to police officer. Stephanie Diaz is currently in the academy, and her position is being filled by a temporary employee that we have right now from the workforce, so that's very helpful. And we had interviews today for a police officer position that we have open, and we are going to start interviews probably next week for animal control. We had several applicants to fill Jessica's position, so we're very hopeful. Anyways, you have the numbers there. You also have the employee feedback. We actually got a good negative mark. I say good negative because we're always bringing you good positive remarks. A guy didn't like the way that he was spoken to by the officer. He felt like the officer had attitude problems, and as it turned out, the officer is just very monotone, and so we're working on that with the officer, basically teaching him how to put on a show. A little cheery. Yeah, be a little more cheery and put on a show. There you go, Billy. But other than that, most of the feedback was positive. We love getting the feedback from the public, especially the negative. We don't know where we stink. We don't know how to improve or where to improve. And then you got the printout of the rest of the stats there, and I will yield back to the council. Fire department.
Mayor and Council. So I think that one of the papers that you got on my stats was incorrect and included stats for that also was in January. So my 12/1 through 12/31 stats should be a total call of 43. That included 2 fires and 25 medical calls, which is pretty much on par on what we do. And the training for that month, we had a total of 46 personnel hours in training for December. I also put together a packet with what we did all year. Last year we ran 562 calls. 78 of those were fires. 238 were rescue medical calls. That's pretty common for us to be running those medical calls. With our training, we put together, well, and I'll also add that in comparison to 2017, in 2017 we ran 773 calls, but a little event that kept the boys pretty busy during that time, so we are down from the 2017. On our training for last year, we put in 1,181.5 hours of training for all my guys last year.
Pretty impressive.
They're required to do a certain amount of training every shift that they work. The captains make the decisions on it on top of the stuff that we need them to be training on anyway. So it's a good program. We really stay on them about getting that training done. I also added in an inspections list for what we did last year. Now with Nate being gone and all that, Jerry when he was in police academy, we only got up to 100 inspections. I expect that to be a little bit higher next year. And currently, right now, we're still working on the brush truck. It's almost finished. They're working on painting that, getting that done. So hopefully, we'll have that in service. I'm hoping by the end of this month, or the next March. Hopefully, everything will be together. Does you have any other questions?
A new ladder truck.
We're waiting.
Moving forward.
Moving forward.
That's awesome.
All good?
Okay.
Now we're gonna go to city council or staff announcements.
In the case of staff, Mr. Mayor and Council, as of this moment, the renovated, updated, and rebuilt city webpage is now live. There is work to do on it, as can be expected with a new product. But what is up there now is workable. And we've been getting a lot of comments on it today, very positive comments. But just wanted to make you and the public aware that it's up there and ready for public viewing. And on the internals, the goal is, and there's a certain element of that already, to make it more user-friendly than what had been the case. Got a couple of emails today on some suggestions that I found very helpful. So bottom line is, want to make you aware that it is up. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it or not, or if you had any comments on it, but another goal of it is when someone goes into the city webpage, there really needs to have a message of attractiveness for our community. And I think it accomplishes that. The viewer is the best judge, and I'm biased, but that's certainly a goal, and I think that goal is being accomplished with still more room for improvement. So want to make you aware of that.
I think it looks great.
The other issue is the citywide community cleanup, and Corey is back there just waiting with bated breath to tell you about the rescheduled date, Corey.
Yeah.
He's gonna tell us where the dumpsters are gonna be placed at.
Good evening. So the cleanup event was rescheduled due to the potential weather we were supposed to have this past weekend. It has been rescheduled to this Saturday from 9 to 1. The dumpster locations, we will have 2 at the 520 building over here on Cleveland. That's going to be for the bulky items, furniture, construction debris, mind you. And then we're going to have another dumpster set up at the LWR property. And that's going to be taking regular debris, trash hold items. And then we'll have the third dumpster set up at Community Park in the open parking lot over by the Shrimpery grounds. There's a loop, so it may be easier for people to pull in and load their trailers and dump in that area. So that's the update. It's for sure going to happen this Saturday, rain or shine.
Looks like it's gonna be raining.
Yeah, I think this weekend is supposed to be a little bit worse than last, but
What's that?
we're going to be.
Who's bringing the tacos?
Corey.
I think the mayor offered to buy
I heard that
tacos.
the mayor was volunteering.
Man, he's a nice guy.
He is, Billy, I agree.
That was
Nice
last week,
guy.
right?
The pro Tim?
No, the mayor.
Oh.
No, I'm not nice. I'm not nice.
Okay. All right.
Corey, I have a
Got you
question.
covered.
It's all about educating the community on these community cleanups. And I noticed yesterday that the motel on the corner of Harrison and Goodnight. They have 8 huge TVs now put out front, and I'm sure they're waiting for us to pick them up.
I will go have a talk with them.
Yeah, 'cause we can't pick up TVs.
No.
You put a tag on them in case they pick them up and go dump them somewhere else.
Spray them.
Just write free still works.
There you go. That's a good idea. Oh, and another thing, I work with Bill with Absolute Waste. If he's got the staffing, he is going to have a brush truck on standby to help as well for the cleanup.
Oh, good.
That's
a
awesome.
possibility as well.
And he's going to pick up immediately afterward, is that
Right,
correct? So
right.
that doesn't stay there for a long time.
Good.
That's all staff has, Mr. Mayor and Council.
All right.
Okay, now we're gonna go to citizen comments. And citizen comments are intended for the matters that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policy, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
Come on, Carol.
Come on down.
The price is right.
I've been waiting all night for this. I wish the comments were at the front. Actually, my comment, I am Carol Salinas, South 11th Street, Aransas Pass. It's a repetitive comment. I don't know if it's our sound system or if it's you guys, but this whole meeting, half of what has been said, I take notes. I can't hear. I don't even know who seconded many of the motions. If the mic is not sitting in front of you, or, you know, if it's off at an angle, or if it's sitting too far back, and I'm trying very hard to speak in, I can tell that it's on. I was having my doubts. When it's recorded on live stream, or even sitting here, and I, believe me, do not have a hearing problem. Ask my husband. Yeah, he will tell you. I hear everything he mumbles. But no, you know, it's just, I've said it before and I'm saying it again. Sometimes it's worse than others. Tonight, I cannot say one person or another. Everybody except the chief has been difficult to hear tonight. And one thing I did notice, our city attorney, when she made a comment, she took the mic, she pulled it towards her and she spoke into the mic so that she could be heard clearly when she said what she had to say. I can tell I'm recording right now. If you can't tell that you're reverberating in the room, I don't know, please speak up, guys. Thank you. Oh, and the website, it is awesome. I went on, and I think it's not only attractive, I think, give me a few days to try it out, but I think it's going to be very user-friendly. The other one was boring and it was not user-friendly, so congratulations to the city on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all for that.
Anybody else? Now we're going to go to executive session, section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with its attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of the Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to appointment process for municipal court judge, Con Brown Harbor, Derrick Construction Company Incorporated, Marine Construction, City of Aransas Pass versus J.M. Davidson, LTD, RLI Insurance Company, and Naismith Engineering, cause number S-14-6278-CV-C in the 343rd Judicial District Court in San Patricio County, Texas.
Mayor, and we're adding one more that was pulled from the agenda, and that is item number 6.8 regarding the adoption of the comprehensive plan. And the time is
7:34.
7:34.
I don't think I should bring these notes in.
Oh, no, I've been looking.
I don't want to discuss this.
Yes, it's freezing in here. Did you fall down? What happened? Oh my gosh, she's falling out of his chair.
Yeah.
Well, I almost went over keister over tea kettle or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I can't even talk.
Okay,
Okay, we're gonna reconvene in open session to consider, take action, if any, on any item discussed in executive session at 8:41 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor and council want to make sure that it's understood and that the public understands as it relates to the comprehensive plan, that the Planning and Zoning Commission has approved and gone through the proper procedures of the comprehensive plan. Also, that tonight we have gone through and are going through the proper procedures for the public hearing and an anticipated vote by the council for final approval of the comprehensive plan. I also want to clarify and make clear to the council and the public that the ad hoc committee was something, frankly, that I recommended, so I will take blame or credit for it, whichever you prefer, blame. But it is designed to help prevent that very important document of the comprehensive plan from sitting on the shelf and collecting dust. And you have a P&Z, which is a great thing to have. You voted on the ad hoc committee, that's P&Z, to monthly go over and just review what changes are occurring in the community and see how those match up with the comprehensive plan. Sometimes the goals, for example, are changing, and other changes may occur, but it has to be made clear that anything from P&Z would be a recommendation. You have the final vote on any changes in that very important document of the comprehensive plan. So just wanted to clarify those issues. The procedures you have been, you are taking tonight are the correct procedures. The procedures the P&Z has had, those procedures are correct also. So you're going in the right direction, and there's a committee set up to oversee and not let that document collect dust. So any questions?
No. Thank you.
You would need to vote on the plan.
So I make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, that's it. So I guess make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wow, please.
Whoa.
Okay.